Hey everyone. Okay, y'all, we are on chapter 8. Real fast though, I happen to be in one of the play therapy rooms at the counseling center where I work, and so I want to show you what one of the rooms looks like. I'm hoping to get a video in one of the other rooms tomorrow when I'm back here, so I'll show you another space too, but I just want to show you what this one looks like. It's super cool. Um, I don't know how to turn this camera around, so we're just gonna walk together here. So you hopefully can see there is a lot of sand stuff right here, and there are tons of dress up stuff and puppets, which are so important when we're doing therapy with kids to kind of let them have free range over what they choose to play with in the therapy space. We use lots of dolls. We even have the anatomically correct ones. Lots of blocks, lots of real life things, Legos, a punching bag. So just to give you an idea of what a standard play therapy space might look like. All right. Okay. If any of you have questions, I am not a play therapist, but I do work with a bunch of play therapists, and they are super cool and do incredible work with little kids. So if you have any questions, I am totally happy to connect you with one of them, and they probably would love to answer your questions. Okay, let's get to chapter 8. So it's about assessment, right? Exploring, understanding problems and strengths. So the big idea I want you to take from this chapter is that assessment is about understanding. It's not about labeling. So we're not diagnosing. We're not looking for, a label for our client just yet. We're just gathering information. We're gaining an understanding of what the client is coming to see us for and what they're bringing with them into the therapy room. So, number one, we always start where the client is. So, what does the client identify as the problem? That's always going to be really important. So, we may go into a session thinking we're going to start in this one particular area or have a general idea of why someone's coming to see us. And then we get into this space and they start talking about something totally different. So, we always want to put our stuff aside and start where the client is. And so we're trying to find out why they came to see us, what brought them here to see us. And that's pretty much the general starting place as we're beginning the assessment and starting to explore. As we're starting to explore, we're considering a good bit of things, okay? Number one, onset. So, questions that I ask about onset. When did this start? When did you first noticing symptoms? When did you first notice that you started feeling this way? Maybe when did someone bring this to your attention? Next is duration. How long has this been going on for? So how long are the symptoms lasting? And maybe like for example, maybe they say something like, I get really panicky around 3 o'clock every afternoon, and it started 3 months ago. And so for duration, I want to know, and how long does that anxiety last every single afternoon? At what point do you notice it's easing up and it's ending? Okay. Frequency, how often do you experience these symptoms? So, do you experience that panicked feeling every afternoon, or is it only during work days? Is it on weekends? Is it maybe just a couple times a week? Severity. The easiest way to gauge severity for me when I'm working with clients is I'll do a scaling question. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is like very easy or very minimal or super happy. 10 is more on the extreme, right? Like I feel it really, really strongly or a more severe level. So it's just a good way to kind of gauge. And then over the course of therapy, we're going to return to that question because our goal is always to bring them down the scale. And it's a good way to measure if our interventions are working. Next is triggers. So, do we know what causes this symptom or these symptoms? So, okay, you mentioned something about having anxiety around 3 o'clock certain afternoons during the week. what's happening those afternoons? What's happening on those days? Is there something that's going to happen in the evening time on those days? So I want to know if they're aware of what is triggering them. Sometimes they're aware, sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's an automatic response, but sometimes there are things happening that we can help explore and match to the symptom. Consequences. So, when this issue happens, what are the consequences involved? So, in what ways are you negatively impacted? I want to get a little more information about that. And I also want to know what their previous attempts are to addressing the issue. What have you done before that has worked for you or not worked for you? That gives me an opportunity to assess if they have coping skills. I've mentioned this before, but we don't want to forget strengths, okay? So again, we want to ask questions like what is working, right? So what is good in your life? Tell me about your support system. What do you like to do for fun? What's going well for you? I think when a client gets to us, it's really easy for them to feel completely depleted or like nothing is going well. But when they actually think about it, we can start to think and realize actually there are some things that are working. And that's a strength. We want to hold on to that so that we can use that moving forward. That's going to be a coping factor, support system that we're going to put in place for the client. What has helped before? So, when this has happened in the past, or when you went through hard in the past, because we've all been through hard in the past, what helped you then? What helped you get through hard then? Who supports this person? So who are your go-to people when you're struggling or even when you're happy? Like when you get good news, who do you call? Who's your person? That's going to be crucial as well. Do y'all hear that drain? And then what motivates them? So what keeps them going? Is it a job? Is it children? Is it a pet? Is it a spouse? One question I always ask clients, especially towards the end of a session as we're wrapping up, what's something that you're looking forward to? Okay, that tells me that they're motivated by something and that they're seeing a future. So, especially for clients who have maybe mentioned suicidality, suicide ideation, or depression, I always want to know what motivates them and what is something they are looking forward to. All right, next we want to distinguish the problem from the need, okay? The presenting problem may not be the underlying issue. A lot of times it's not. People come to us and they say they're having an issue with something, and then after getting a lot more information and doing the assessment, we realize, okay, so like what they came in for is an issue and it's something that we can work with them on, but there are some underlying things that we've got to address. And so we don't want to dismiss that. So active listening in this phase of the helping process is crucial. I'll give you a great example. I'm currently working with a male. His presenting problem was grief. He recently lost his dad, and so he came to me for grief therapy. He's struggling with depression and anxiety and maybe a little complicated grief, but normal grief stuff. After talking with him for a couple sessions, he then disclosed to me that he actually wants to be trans. He is married with a wife and children, and he doesn't know what to do. And he said, actually, I'm doing much better about my dad. I only saw him for a couple of sessions, but the grief has maybe dredged up these other feelings around life for me, and I don't know where to go with them. So the presenting problem was grief, and he needed support in those sessions. But now we're working on something completely different, and so it's just important to kind of listen to what the client is saying and to recognize that sometimes when they come to us with a certain issue, it may not actually be the issue we're going to spend the most time working on. And finally, we want to avoid premature conclusions, right? So assessment should be hypothesis driven, not assumption driven. We always want to take a step back. An example might be a parent that says, my teenager is completely out of control. Well, we can make assumptions about what's going on, but that wouldn't really be fair to this parent, to the client, or to the teenager, right? And so we want to know a little bit more about what out of control means so that we can make an accurate assessment rather than an assumption that's probably maybe not true. One thing to remember, assessment is curiosity with a purpose. Okay, y'all. See you in chapter 9.